With a staggering net worth of over $400 billion, Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. But some people claim the success of Elon Musk has less to do with personal genius and more to do with the social and political arenas ripe for exploitation. Whether you like him or not, the tech visionary, multi-billionaire, and real-life Tony Stark has altered the course of history, directly impacting how we view technology, transportation, and even our place in the universe. But behind the headlines, rockets, and electric cars, there's a very complex story of family, ambition, and an enormous amount of unchecked power. This story isn't about just one man. It's about the forces that shaped him and what his rise to the top means for the rest of us. We need to dig in deep, and you might not like what we find, but it will raise alarming questions that you can't afford to ignore. The road to Elon's success reads like a science fiction novel, filled with self-driving cars and occupying Mars. But to understand who Elon truly is, we have to go really far back, past Silicon Valley, all the way back to South Africa, to a family that wasn't just wealthy, but deeply entwined with a really dark history. Forget any myth of a self-made image. The Musk family history is filled with privilege, exploitation, and a carefully curated public image. First up, on Elon's maternal side is his mother, May Haldeman Musk. 1948 was a pivotal year. While the world was recovering from war, May and her twin sister Kay were born in Saskatchewan, Canada. But that same year was the beginning of legalized racial segregation in South Africa under the apartheid. This movement forcibly removed 60,000 Black, Indigenous, and non-white people from their homes, making room for white settlers. The Haldeman family relocated to South Africa, directly supporting this movement. May's father and Elon's grandfather, Joshua Haldeman, was a pilot, chiropractor, amateur archaeologist, and a radical conspiracy theorist. For more than a decade, he flew his wife and children around the world in a crop plane, searching for the lost city of Kalahari. He was also a very active political activist and director for Technocracy Incorporated. Technocracy is a form of government where elected officials appoint experts and professionals to run things and recommend laws based on their areas of expertise. Members of this movement were referred to as technocrats and saw societal problems as something solvable through technology. The father of technocracy was none other than Howard Scott, an American and close associate of May's father and Elon's grandfather, Joshua. This is where you first start to see patterns emerge between Elon's ancestors and some of the practices that he has in his own businesses today. The technocracy movement referred to members as numbers instead of names, and a lot of these members would add the letter X to those names. Members wore identical gray clothing and drove identical gray cars, almost a foreshadowing to Elon's Cybertruck. In an ideal technocracy, only a small percentage of adults have jobs. In fact, your work life wouldn't begin until age 25. But it does ignore some deeper realities. According to political scientists who know way more than I do about this topic, it creates serious problems like unjust concentrations of power. There's no room and no need for democracy. Technocracy is no longer illegal, but during the 1940s it was, and Elon's grandpa, Joshua Haldeman, was arrested for his deep involvement in the movement. That ultimately ended Haldeman's political stint in Canada, but would launch a more passionate and racist one in South Africa. Haldeman believed that the apartheid South Africa was destined to lead white Christian civilization in its fight against the international conspiracy of Jewish bankers and hordes of colored people they controlled. Like I said, passionately racist. May's daddy wouldn't be the only man in her life that was heavily involved in overtly racist politics. There's also the father of her 3 children, and perhaps the biggest villain in this entire story, Elon Musk. Errol is a lot of things: an electromechanical engineer, pilot, and property developer. But according to many people, including his son Elon, he's also a truly terrible human being. Errol began his political career with the Progressive Federal Party, which strongly opposed racial segregation like the apartheid. However, seemingly overnight, he switched parties to one that actually supported the apartheid system, and he willingly traded any sense of a moral compass for a money compass. compass. South Africa's very lucrative mining industry became an instant money grab for colonizers like the Musks. Not only were non-white citizens forcibly removed from their homes, those homes were then sold to white settlers at significantly lower rates. The working wage for a white man was 3 times higher than all other races. Interracial marriage and interracial sex was considered a crime. They profited off of the backs of Black and Indigenous people. Of course, Elon Musk will tell you that he's not racist, but he did casually mention in an interview that the apartheid in South Africa was ultimately better and safer than it is today, and he certainly had no problem benefiting from the opportunities that racism generously afforded him. By the time Elon turned 10, the apartheid had made his family incredibly wealthy. The type of wealthy that could afford yachts, private planes, luxury cars, private schools, and several of the largest homes in Pretoria, South Africa. The Musk children had a childhood of privilege, but also a childhood with a lot of emotional neglect. In Elon's own words, his childhood was marked by difficulty, like misery, and extremely unhappy. By all accounts, their family dynamic was severely complicated, and this was the birth of Elon's villain origin story. In 1979, South Africa legalized divorce. That same year, Elon's parents filed for their own. After his parents' divorce, he would end up moving in with his dad primarily, and later said he regretted that decision. During his early years, Elon attended a wilderness school where he says bullying was a virtue and children were encouraged to fight over rations. During one incident of bullying, Elon was thrown down concrete steps and severely beaten, which landed him in the hospital. And he describes how his father berated him after he was discharged. Now, according to Errol, the reason Elon ended up in the hospital is because he started a fight with another student whose father had recently killed himself, and the other student beat the crap out of Elon, who was the initial bully. Elon Musk was emotionally distant, very strict, and often harsh. Years later, Mae Musk would describe her husband as abusive. Everybody I knew called him the pig because he treated me so badly in public. He told me over and over that I was stupid, ugly, and boring. Has he looked in the mirror? She also recalled an incident where 5-year-old Elon attempted to stop his father from beating her. Like every abused woman, I was embarrassed and I knew I had made a mistake. He was very rich, but made sure I had nothing. Then he would sue me and say that I was unfit to parent. Obviously, this doesn't excuse the behavior of the adult version of Elon, but it does provide pretty good context as to why he's the way that he is. Elon has also expressed frustration in the inability for him to repair the relationship with his father. And some of the things he's said about his dad are actually really sad. I've tried everything: threats, rewards, intellectual arguments, emotional arguments, everything to try to change my father for the better. It just got worse. Almost every evil thing you could possibly think of, he has done. Errol told the Daily Mail, Elon is a spoiled brat and he needs to grow up. This super messy family history and the total disregard for personal boundaries or showing any amount of empathy really seems to have imprinted on Elon at a young age. But what about his other 2 siblings? His younger brother Kimball isn't just riding his brother's coattail. Kimball co-founded 3 food-related companies, which all claim they aren't just about fancy meals, they're about sustainable and community-focused food systems. But much like his older brother, Kimball's success actually began in the world of tech. Kimball and Elon teamed up for their first business venture, Zip2, which would end up selling for a cool $307 million in 1999. Business savvy seems to run in this family, just like unfortunate hairlines. And this is where it gets really interesting. In 2002, Kimball became the co-founder and CEO of Nova Sky Stories, except in true Musk family form, this wasn't a new or an original idea. Nova Sky Stories is formerly known as Ascending Technologies and was founded in 2007 in Germany. It was the first company to innovate and develop drones for live entertainment, creating drone light shows for massive events like the Tokyo Olympics, Super Bowl halftime shows, Disney events, and Coachella. The company even set Guinness World Records for drone performances, including 500 drones flying simultaneously. I'm sure the recent and mysterious appearance of so many drones in the eastern United States has nothing to do with this. But outside of these impressive light shows, there's a darker layer to Kimball's story, and it involves one of the most notoriously nasty figures in recent history, Jeffrey Epstein. Before Epstein's arrest, him and Kimball were in regular contact. This wasn't just a casual acquaintance. Epstein also set Kimball up with a woman that he had previously dated, and Kimball's relationship with that woman ended up lasting an entire year. Epstein and his entourage were granted a private tour of Elon's SpaceX facility, which really goes to show the level of access that Epstein had to the Musk family's inner circle. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. 3 years after Epstein's 2008 conviction for sexually assaulting a minor, Kimball attended dinner with him, and he wasn't alone. In addition to his brother Elon, Kimball was joined by Mark Zuckerberg and PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel. This wasn't some chance encounter with Jeffrey Epstein. They were knowingly breaking bread with someone who they knew was guilty. What does that really say about their own morals and judgment of someone's character? Years later, in 2021, Elon was subpoenaed by the US Virgin Islands in a lawsuit that accused JP Morgan Chase & Company of knowingly benefiting from Epstein's sex trafficking, and that raises questions about the Musk's potential knowledge of Epstein's activities. We should also be questioning why Kimball and Elon were so comfortable maintaining such a close relationship with someone like Epstein. Perhaps the least problematic of the sibling trio is the boy's baby sister, Tosca. But let's take a closer look and see if she actually stands apart from her brothers. After her parents' divorce, Tosca lived with her mother May, and eventually they would move back to Canada. While her brothers pursued tech and innovation, Tosca found her passion in the world of film, and with a little financial backing from her brother Elon, she became a filmmaker and founded Musk Entertainment. She also co-founded the streaming service Passionflix, focusing mainly on romance and Hallmark-style films, which is a far cry from the real work and big loads of her older brother. Despite Tosca's seemingly quiet career path, her personal perspectives have raised some eyebrows. And while she might not be embroiled in controversy like her brothers, there's a sense that she still identifies strongly with the Musk family narrative. In her own words, without sounding patronizing, it does seem that our family is different from other people. We risk more. If by risking more she means using family entitlement and stolen wealth to take more, then yes. We're not quite done with the Musk family tree because Elon has made his own significant contributions. Despite their mutual disdain, Elon and his father share a lot of similar beliefs, like believing in a looming population collapse due to decreasing birth rates, which is actually just an unfounded conspiracy theory. But Elon still wants you to know that he's doing his part. Elon and his first wife, Justine Wilson, procreated 6 children. Tragically, their first child, Nevada Wilson, passed away from SIDS at just 10 weeks old. After his relationship with Justine ended, Elon dated musical artist Grimes, and they would end up having 3 more children. You probably remember hearing something about their baby name choices in the news. The names that they picked for these kids were very unique. And things got even more interesting when Elon started a relationship with an executive at his company Neuralink. Elon and Siobhan would end up having 3 children together, but there's a weird overlap in this pregnancy timeline because the last child he fathered with Grimes was born only a couple months apart from Siobhan's. The devil is busy, but Elon seems to stay even busier. According to the Times, Musk continues to seek out women that are willing to have children with him, and has even offered his billionaire semen to friends and acquaintances. And don't forget when he told Taylor Swift last year that he would give her a child and guard her cats with his life. Immediately no. That's disgusting. Despite fathering at least a dozen kids and threatening to curse us with more, Elon doesn't have a very good reputation at being a dad. His daughter Vivian refers to his parenting style as being cold, uncaring, and narcissistic. Elon knows all too well what it's like to have a really bad dad. Vivian's assigned gender at birth was not female, meaning she made a very personal decision to transition, which is a decision only she can make. According to sources, Elon was supportive of this decision early on and behind the scenes, but Elon couldn't handle Vivian making that transition publicly. In an interview, Musk used Vivian's birth name, which is known as dead naming in the trans community, and said that Vivian was dead, killed by the woke mind virus. He claimed Vivian was born gay and slightly autistic, but that she was not a girl. Vivian later responded to his interview saying, "I wasn't going to say anything, and I was going to let this go unchallenged. But if you're going to lie about me to an audience of millions, I'm not just gonna let that slide." Vivian recalled that during her childhood, Elon would harass her for exhibiting feminine traits, pressure her to appear more masculine, and push her to deepen her voice as early as elementary school. Fathering a dozen children and advocating for mass procreation doesn't make someone a good dad. Multi-billionaire or not, there is zero excuse for treating your child, publicly or privately, with this level of enormous cruelty. Regardless of personal or political beliefs, a person is still a person, and your child is still your child. Tesla Motors was founded in 2003, not by Elon Musk. Like most of his companies, Tesla was founded long before Elon came along. The original creators of the company wanted to develop electric vehicles that were both fast and fun well before Musk made it to the scene. When he did join Tesla in 2004, he did it by investing $6.35 million, which by default made him a major stakeholder and chairman of the board. In 2021, after a series of lawsuits and dealings with the SEC, he officially changed his title within the company from CEO to Techno King, which could be seen as a nod to his family's love of technocracy. But his Tesla tenure has not been without a lot of controversy. He has spent years carefully curating his persona, but in all actuality, his behavior is not just eccentric, but very often reckless and harmful. Board members criticized his erratic behavior and expressed concerns about his use of Ambien and other recreational drugs. And those recreational drugs might be to blame for one of his most expensive tweets to date. In 2018, Elon tweeted that he had funding to take Tesla private at $420 a share, which he claims was a joke referencing the use of marijuana. Unfortunately, the SEC didn't find it funny. Their investigation concluded that his tweet had no basis in fact and actually cost investors millions of dollars. So Elon and Tesla were both fined $20 million each. He doesn't regret a single penny because of course he doesn't. $20 million is chump change to a billionaire. As part of his settlement with the SEC, Musk was required to have legal counsel approve anything that he posted about Tesla. This was meant to prevent him from posting any type of market-moving news that could affect the economy or the investors. He almost immediately broke those conditions because no one tells Elon Musk what to do. It only took him 6 words in a tweet to wipe $14 billion off of Tesla's value, claiming Tesla's stock price is too high, and he's just getting started. By the end of 2021, Elon was at it again, proposing to sell some of his Tesla stock on Twitter, and more than 3.5 million Twitter accounts supported his decision. Within a week, he had sold $6.9 billion worth of Tesla stock, which totaled $16.4 billion by the end of that year. A few months later, the Wall Street Journal reported that Elon and Kimball were both under investigation by the SEC again for possible insider trading related to that sale. Exploiting people and abusive behaviors are just some of the common characteristics in the Musk family, but they're also central in the way that the Musk family conducts business. Between 2014 and 2017, ambulances responded to the Tesla factory in Fremont over 100 times. Workers commonly reported experiencing symptoms like chest pain, abnormal breathing, dizziness, and even fainting. A former employee even compared it to a modern-day industrial sweatshop. Luckily, Elon claims that safety is the top priority, and that Tesla is a money-losing company. A lawsuit filed in 2023 by a Tesla owner found that Tesla employees shared highly invasive videos and images recorded by customers' car cameras with each other. In 2019, a California judge ruled that Tesla and Elon had illegally sabotaged employees that were trying to form a union, and other workers filed complaints with the NLRB accusing them of illegally firing as retaliation for criticizing Elon Musk. Tesla has faced numerous complaints over workplace harassment and racial discrimination. A former employee was awarded $1 million in a discrimination case against Tesla after claiming he was referred to by the N-word. Another former employee described Tesla as a hotbed of racist behavior. Another jury found that Tesla was liable for the racial harassment of multiple Fremont employees and awarded those employees more than $3 million. In 2021, 7 women came forward claiming to have faced sexual harassment and discrimination while working at the same Tesla factory. Another woman accused Tesla of similar behavior and was ultimately fired. Many former employees cite Elon's behavior for this pattern within the company. An investigation into Tesla in January of 2024 found that the company illegally disposed of hazardous waste in 25 California counties. And in 2021, Consumer Reports rated the overall reliability of Tesla as 27th worst out of 28 car brands. And after Elon purchased Twitter in 2022, Tesla stock plummeted nearly 65%. Investors and customers continue to be worried about his behavior and the potential impact on the future of the companies. In 1999, he co-founded a company called X.com, which was one of the first federally insured online banks. At the time, Elon's friends tried to talk him out of the name X because they thought people would mistake it for a more adult-rated website. He claims the name was memorable and easy to type, or maybe it was meant to honor the long family history with technocracy. Musk is no stranger to Twitter, and even expressed an interest in buying it as early as 2017. By 2022, he had become the largest Twitter shareholder, acquiring 9.1% of the company's stakes. Shortly after, he made an unsolicited offer to buy Twitter at $54.20 per share, which brought the value of the company up to $44 billion. He claims that offer was made in a tweet as a joke, a lesson he never learned from the first time around. Unfortunately for him at the time, and unfortunately now for us, the board members at Twitter unanimously accepted that offer. He was able to secure over $46 billion in financing for the acquisition of Twitter, including a $10 million investment from his buddy, Sean Diddy Combs. In 2022, Elon purchased Twitter for $44 billion. Elon celebrated by tweeting that the bird is freed. Elon is a self-proclaimed free speech absolutist, as long as he's the only one speaking. But there's only one opinion he actually cares about, and that's his own. He promised to promote free speech, reinstate banned accounts, and revise Twitter's content moderation policies. Trump responded to the Musk takeover, stating that he is very happy that Twitter is now in sane hands. Those sane hands would end up being responsible for firing 80% of the Twitter workforce. Firing that many employees included many members of the trust and safety team, meaning that hate speech and the distribution of CSAM became a massive problem. Within 12 hours of purchasing Twitter, the platform saw a significant spike in hate speech and racist tweets. The use of the N-word alone increased by 500% within those 12 hours. Since acquiring Twitter, he's lost 40% of the platform's revenue, and the value has decreased to 80% of what he paid for it. Elon may be the richest man, but he's also the biggest loser, breaking another record by losing the most money of anyone in history. Elon's own behavior on Twitter has further diminished his reputation as an innovative leader. He's quickly become known for provocative statements, like telling advertisers to go fuck yourself. He's known to remove accounts of journalists that post anything negative about him or any of his companies. He also compared Canada's former prime minister to Hitler and calling Vice President Harris a communist. In 2023, he engaged with another user on X that claimed Western Jewish populations support the flooding of their countries by hordes of minorities. Elon replied saying, "You have said the actual truth." According to Elon, society should move on from the topic of racism because we are all descended from slaves. And following several racist comments by a cartoonist, he actually accused the media of being racist against against white people and Asians. He's also made outrageous claims about AI, even suggesting that it could kill millions of people to achieve diversity goals. The platform he promised would be a haven for free speech has now become a cesspool of hate that he freely and liberally contributes to. Free speech and hate speech have become interchangeable, so that's concerning. It seems that his intentions are to increase engagement and monetization opportunities, regardless of the human cost, and with a total disrespect for truth. Although it's tempting to slap him with an armchair diagnosis of a sociopath or psychopath, it's important to remember that racism and bigotry are not mental illness. They are social and cultural constructs. He presents himself as a visionary and a disruptor, someone who's not afraid to challenge the status quo. But in actuality, his behavior is not eccentric, it's reckless and harmful. When it comes to power and influence, Elon isn't just a techno-king CEO. He's a professional player and a master when it comes to government grifts. His companies have an estimated $4.9 million in government subsidies, which directly benefit him. And recently, he's weaseled his way into politics in a much bigger way. Back in 2016, Elon was known as an anti-Trump flaming liberal. That's according to his loving father. In Elon's words, Trump didn't have the sort of character that reflected very well on the United States. But just a few years later, he became incredibly anti-liberal and vocalized his disdain for President Joe Biden. This was a direct result of Biden's outspoken support for employee-led unions, which of course he has a history of sabotaging. In the months leading up to the 2024 presidential election, Elon Musk donated $250 million to Trump's campaign. He appeared beside Donald Trump at rallies and even declared that he's not just MAGA, he's dark MAGA, and dark MAGA definitely knows how to jump. His overnight political shift is certainly alarming, but it's also eerily similar to his dad's political shift to the apartheid. Elon went from someone who championed environmental protection, sustainable energy, and electric cars to becoming a key supporter and first buddy to a convicted felon who repeatedly calls climate change a hoax and even mocked electric cars. There's an inevitable clash that's going to happen between Trump and Elon Musk. That's what happens when two overinflated egos with a god complex join the same team. But Elon isn't the only billionaire that's aligning themselves politically, and that should raise major concerns. The Trump administration announced that the three richest men in the world will be seated together at the presidential inauguration. The combined wealth of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg exceeds $885 billion, and they'll all be in the same room. $885 billion worth of entitled white men. That's a very expensive throuple. Before we move on, let's do a quick recap and assess. Elon Musk is the father of at least a dozen children. He's also a former associate of Jeffrey Epstein, who was arrested and convicted for sexually assaulting little girls. Elon Musk is a $10 million business partner with Sean Diddy Combs, who was arrested and charged in a massive sex trafficking operation involving many underage victims. And now, first buddy and roommates with a 34-time convicted presidential felon who is found guilty of sexually assaulting a woman. Elon Musk brags about the lack of censorship on his multi-million-dollar platform that's directly responsible for the distribution and selling of child sexual abuse material, which directly harms children across the world. And he continues to align himself with the same people perpetuating that harm. The lack of self-awareness is mind-numbing. People have often wondered where Elon's obsession with space and Mars actually stems from. He's left it up to speculation, so let's speculate. Wernher von Braun was a member of the Nazi Party and a leading figure in rocket technology. Von Braun was brought to the United States in 1952 as part of a secret operation by the United States government called Operation Paperclip. He found lifelong success in the United States as a pioneer of rocket and space technology. He worked extensively with NASA and played major roles in historical moments like the landing on the moon. He would even work with Walt Disney on a series of films that popularized the idea of space travel by humans. His book titled The Mars Project describes an underground civilization on Mars. The civilization is led by an elected leader known as the Elon, E-L-O-N. There's been further speculation that Errol was inspired by this book for the naming of his son. Could this be a self-fulfilling prophecy, or is Elon consciously or or subconsciously trying to live out this sci-fi narrative in order to finally gain the approval of his father. In the book, von Braun further describes a 3-stage launch vehicle and a space station on Mars as a way to have military omnipresence, and said that the station could be a bomb carrier. Von Braun also crusaded for an anti-communist policy which would allow nuclear bombs in space. Musk and von Braun share in this grand vision of space exploration with a particular focus on colonizing Mars. Each of them have skillfully captured the imagination of the public, and they both managed to achieve government collaboration for these goals. But is the drive to colonize Mars really about pushing humanity forward? Or is it a manifestation of a deep-seated need for control and power? He presents himself as a maverick, but in all actuality, Elon Musk has incredibly thin skin with a very fragile ego. In the summer of 2018, a Thai soccer team of 12 boys and 1 coach got stuck in a cave system where they were going for an after-practice birthday party. Unfortunately, while inside, monsoon-like rain started, which caused the water to rise very quickly and closed off the entrance, trapping the group inside for 9 days. And Elon has entered the chat. More than 100 divers, including Navy SEALs, were involved in rescue attempts. 2 of the divers would end up passing away during and after the mission. At some point during those 9 days, Elon offered up one of his mini submarines from SpaceX to aid in the boys' recovery. Unfortunately, this particular cave system had small and windy tunnels that had to be navigated by experienced divers and in no way could accommodate a submarine. His generous offer was politely declined by an experienced diver who was very familiar with this particular cave system. Elon handles a lot of things well, but what he can't handle is rejection, and he projected those insecurities on Vernon Unsworth, just to call Vernon a pedophile. This claim was completely unsubstantiated and based entirely on Elon's fragile feelings, but he took it a step further and hired a $50,000 private investigator and convicted felon to investigate the heroic man that had spent 2 weeks rescuing 12 kids. Vernon would later sue him for defamation, as he absolutely should. But shockingly, Elon ended up winning that case. I can't imagine why.
What your thoughts on Elon Musk's idea was?
In sticky submarine where it hurts, just had absolutely no chance of working. He had no conception of what the cave passage was like. The submarine, I believe, was about 5'6" long, rigid, so it wouldn't have gone round corners or round any obstacles. It wouldn't have made the first 50 meters into the cave from the dive start point. Just a PR stunt.
Thanks to Vernon and the hard work of other divers, all 12 boys and their coach survived. Taking credit for someone else's work is CEO 101, and it's something that Elon Musk is very comfortable doing, kind of like Thomas Edison did to Nikola Tesla. Musk was recently called out by gamers after a disastrous live stream that sparked questions about his ability to actually play video games. He appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience, where he bragged ad nauseum about his super impressive play rankings on intensive games like Path of Exile 2. He also attempted to win gamers adoration by complaining about woke BS in video games and posting the most cringe gaming memes online, which the gaming community immediately clocked. It's so obvious that he's desperate to bond with someone, literally anyone, especially his dad, but definitely not his kids. When he's not vanity searching himself on Twitter, he's creating pseudonames and burner accounts, becoming his own imaginary friend. One of these well-known pseudo accounts on Twitter goes by the name Adrian Dittman. According to many people, Adrian is Elon, Elon is Adrian. This account has served 2 purposes: to stroke and fluff Elon's massive ego, and for the public to see just how many shades of brown his nose can get. Musk allegedly used a voice changer on live streams just to defend himself under the pseudonym Adrian Dittman. And in May of 2024, Dittman posted, "I am not Elon Musk," which was countered by a post from Elon which read, "I am Adrian Dittman. It's time the world knew." So Elon confirmed it was him, but he's also known for making ill-received jokes on Twitter. But I've noted a few things about the name Adrian Dittman. Adrian is a Latin name that means son of Adria, but its Greek origin has a meaning of rich. The name Ditman is of German origin, derived from another name which means famous people or people's fame. Essentially naming himself rich famous person sounds exactly Elon Musk. Since we're already talking Germany, the German government has accused Elon Musk of trying to meddle in the country's election campaign in order to sway the vote, citing recent open and blatant attempts on his platform X. They even called Elon undignified and highly problematic. According to a spokesperson for the German government, it is indeed the case that Elon Musk is trying to influence the federal election, but reminded people that Musk has the right to free speech.
A German government spokesperson saying that Elon Musk is free to express his opinion, but freedom of opinion also covers the greatest nonsense.
And I think we can all agree. The funny thing is, people like Elon, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg could actually become one of the most adored people on the planet if they put even a fraction of their wealth into genuinely helping other people. Instead, we're stuck with 53-year-old billionaires who would sacrifice all of us in a heartbeat if it meant getting daddy's approval. Perhaps his entire career is just a social vendetta stemming from a lifetime of daddy and mommy issues, when he should have just invested in therapy. The combination of his manipulative personality, desperation for approval, and an inconceivable amount of wealth make Elon Musk one of the most dangerous men on the planet. We cannot rely on charismatic figures like Elon Musk to solve even one of our problems. It's entirely up to us to be critical and to ask questions, but also stay informed and engaged. Question the narratives. Demand absolute accountability, like our future depends on it. Here's what we can learn from billionaires. Money isn't the root of all evil. It's the amplifier of true character, whether that's good or bad. And at the end of the day, there are still a few things that money will never be able to buy. A likable personality, genuine adoration, or an original thought. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me. If you like this type of content and want to learn more about our deeply flawed government structures, click the video in the top left corner, and I will see you guys over there.